Hi, my name is Oksana, and if you've been here for a while, you probably noticed that I disappeared from this channel for over a year now, and I never explained why. So today I'm going to tell you my whole story that I never told in this channel. It actually started in China, where I lived for 15 years. I worked there, studied there, built my career. I had a good job, health insurance, great salary. But even though it looked great from the outside, it actually never felt stable. Why? It's because my entire life depended on one thing, which was work visa. So no visa, no right to stay in the country. And something happened that was impossible to ignore. And it may sound crazy for some people, but I restarted my career from zero. I had no computer science degree, no coding background. And the time was incredible because ChatGPT just came out and everyone was telling me that the market is dead, it's hard to find a job as a junior, AI will replace everyone, it's pointless to learn how to code. But here I am, a software developer working remotely for an international company and enjoying her life. So today I'm going to tell you how it happened. Okay, let's start with who I was not. I was never a kid who used to break down computers in the bedroom. My parents or relatives were not into tech or coding. I didn't study computer science. I actually studied economics in Beijing. After that, I spent years working in international companies, doing technical support, game localization. I was living in the most modern city in the world, which is Shanghai. It's a very beautiful city. But the reality is that nobody actually talks about is that you always depend on one thing, which is working visa. And no job, no visa, no right to stay in the country. And the thing was always in the back of my head. I knew that sooner or later I'll have to leave this country. So another thing is the commute. It took me about 1 hour and a half just to get to the office. I worked at the city center and I lived a bit further. So 3 hours of my day just wasted just to commute. And if you've ever been in Shanghai subway during rush hour, you know what I'm talking about. So somewhere in the middle of that, I started asking myself a question. Is this really a life that I want to live? I had international work experience, languages, but there was one thing lacking, which was a skill that could truly give me freedom that I wanted, not depending on an office, work remotely, not depend on one city or country. Then 2022 happened, Shanghai went into 2 months lockdown, and my company where I worked at the time decided to cut our entire department, including the manager. It was very shocking and devastating at the same time. So during the lockdown, I was actively looking for jobs. I couldn't attend interviews. I was actually attending online interviews, and I got a couple of offers from Shenzhen and Hangzhou. And I was thinking to move right after Shanghai opens. But at the same time, during lockdown, I had time to think for the first time in China. I had enough time to think about my life and what to do next. And I decided that maybe I shouldn't continue living in China and should risk and go back home and rebuild my life over there. So after Shanghai opened up, I packed my things and I went back home. Once I moved back home, things moved pretty fast. I got my first remote job at an American company as a tech support because I already had experience. And then I worked at a European company, also remote. But at the same time, I felt like I want more. So why coding of all of the things? To be honest, I had another option in mind, which was marketing, but something was still pulling me towards coding. And I think it's just an idea of that. What actually matters in coding is that if you can build. So it's not your age, it's not who you know, it's actually you, yourself and you and your skill. And also another thing is that I really wanted to change my life. And that's why I had a lot of motivation. And I bought a front-end developer course, and I was studying during evenings after my full-time support job and during weekends. And then the universe had the perfect timing. GPT happened. So everywhere I heard AI will replace developers. Why learning coding? It's pointless, you're wasting your time. Market is dead, no need to learn coding. And you possibly heard that too. And of course I had doubts because I just started learning to code, learning how to become a front-end developer. I was learning after work. It was also challenging. Another thing is that right after I graduated, the coding bootcamp, it shut down, so it doesn't exist anymore. So of course it was crazy time, but something inside me was telling me do not quit, and I never wanted to quit. I actually kept going. I was believing that I'm on the right path, no matter what people are saying, and that's where I am today. And of course I had my doubts, because imagine I just entered the coding school and I paid for it a lot of money, and it was challenging as well because I was learning to code after my main job. It took a lot of effort, motivation. And the funny thing is that right after I finished the bootcamp, the coding school shut down. So it was pretty funny time. But I never felt like quitting. Like something inside me was telling me just to keep going. No matter what people are saying, just keep going. I don't know why I had so much motivation. I started doing 100 days of code. I continued, and here I am. So what did my learning journey actually look like? As I was doing my front-end coding bootcamp, I was finishing my CS50, building random projects, building group projects with my peers from the coding school. As I progressed, I was building my GitHub profile, which looked more and more alive, with multiple projects on it. And it was fun. In the beginning, it felt almost impossible to imagine myself coding. I thought that developers are like some sort of geniuses, and if I can become one, wow, I'm a genius too. Which was funny, but little by little I started progressing, I started getting used to it. So it's not easy, of course, but it's doable like any skill. You can learn if you just keep repeating it every day. You kind of get used to it and you're building up your knowledge on it, right? Also, there was like a funny part when ChatGPT just came out and I started using it, and I was shocked of its capabilities. And then I was sitting and thinking to myself, like, am I a real developer? This kind of feeling. After I finished my bootcamp, I did an unpaid internship for 4 months, just for the experience and to put something on my resume. And then the real job hunt started. So I was applying a lot, sending my resumes, getting rejections, doing test tasks, then rejections again. And it was like 1-2 months I was looking for a job. And then I found a posting from an American startup. They were looking for a tech support engineer with basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I thought to myself, maybe I should try and transition later within the company since it's a startup. And I gave it a shot. And during my interview with HR, I was very straight about it. I told her that I can start in support, but I would like to transition to a developer role if that's possible. Then she said, okay, we can think about it. And I went through 3 rounds of interviews. I did 1 technical assignment. And at the very last stage of my interview with CTO and CEO, we talked about it openly. I told them that I would like to grow into a developer, and they agreed on it. So I accepted the offer. So like this, I started as a support in that company, and honestly it was pretty intense because I was the only support person in the team, and I had to deal with all of the customers at once without any documentation, without any processes. It was pretty hectic, but looking back, actually it was a very great thing that I started from support because I really understood how the product works. So within just a few months, the team started growing and they started hiring more and more people to support, also hired a team lead of support. There were processes being built, the company kept growing, kept making money. So I had myself a bit of breathing room to continue with my coding journey, and I started taking some little dev tasks like create custom codes for clients or fixing small bugs. So little by little I started taking on more and more tasks, and honestly it wasn't like some magical story. Nobody actually tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You're a developer now." Actually, I was doing two jobs at once. I was still handling support tickets and doing development job on the side. So yeah, it was pretty exhausting at times, but eventually I officially transitioned into dev team and I'm not doing any support work anymore. And looking back, my support experience surprisingly was a very great thing that happened to me. So after I got into dev team, I realized that many developers, they actually don't even know the product that well. They only focus on their small feature and that's it. They don't really understand the whole thing. They don't see the big picture. So that's where my advantage came up. And especially now, during the AI era, we as the developers, we're heading to this kind of thing like product engineers. So we're not only people that are just writing code, we also have to understand how the whole product works. I use AI every day as a developer. It's no longer a kind of like a side tool. It's just something that integrated into your work, daily work. So I spend as many tokens as I can every day and every developer in my company does it too. So this is how it is. It's a part of our job now and there is nothing wrong about that. But here is one thing. AI does not automatically make you a developer. AI can generate tons of code, tons. But code is not the hard part anymore. It's everything around the code. You still need to figure out why this code exists, or what problems does it solve. You still need to communicate with the team, with product manager. You still need to oversee the risks, what it can break. So that's the whole shift. A developer job changed a lot. So developers nowadays, they're not just coders, they're like architects. 1 year ago, my goal was simple: become a developer. That's done. Check the box. Now I have a new goal. There is a question I keep thinking. In this AI era, can a solo developer build a real product? Not a pet project, not a toy project, but a real product. That's actually I'm going to find out soon. So in the next chapter of this channel, I'm going to build my first ever SaaS from scratch. And I'm going to build it with you. There are many things I'll have to learn, like backend development, AI integrations, payments, possibly 100 other things that I don't even know yet, but we're going to figure it out. I will share all the process, the wins, the failures. So if you're interested, subscribe to my channel and let's build it together. See you in my next video.